Let me ask you a question. Have you ever known exactly what you wanted to say, but when it was time to speak English, your mind suddenly became slow? You knew the answer, you knew the words, you understood the conversation, but before speaking, something happened. You translated, first from English into your native language, then back into English, and by the time you were ready to speak, the moment was gone. If this sounds like you, you're not alone. In fact, this is one of the biggest reasons millions of English learners stay stuck for years, not because they are not intelligent, not because they don't know enough vocabulary, not because they need more grammar, but because they're trying to drive with the brakes on.
That's exactly how it feels. You understand English, you study English, you even know hundreds or thousands of words, but speaking still feels difficult. Why?
Because your brain is doing twice the work. Imagine trying to have a conversation while using Google Translate inside your head every second. Exhausting, right? That's exactly what many English learners do every day. And the scary part? Many people never realize this is the real problem. They think they need another course, another grammar book, another vocabulary list. But the real breakthrough comes when you stop translating and start thinking. And today, we're going to show you exactly how to do that. Because the difference between struggling speakers and fluent speakers is not what most people think. And the first habit might completely change how you learn English forever.
So why does this happen? Why do we automatically translate?
Because that's how we learned English. Think about school. The teacher says an English word, then immediately gives the meaning in your native language. English word, translation. English word, translation, again and again, year after year. Your brain becomes trained to depend on translation. It becomes a habit, and habits are powerful, even when they stop helping us.
So translation isn't really the problem. Dependence on translation is the problem.
Exactly. Think about a child learning their first language. When a child hears the word apple, they don't translate it. They see the object, they connect directly to the meaning. That's why children think naturally. No translation, no delay, no extra step. And this leads to an important question. What if you could train your brain to connect English directly to meaning, without translation, without hesitation, without fear? That's where the transformation begins. Imagine two English learners. Both know the same vocabulary, both know the same grammar, both study for 1 hour every day. But after 1 year, one learner speaks confidently, the other still struggles. Why? Because one learner studies English, the other lives English.
What does that mean?
It means English becomes part of daily life, not just a subject, not just a lesson, not just homework. A language is not learned through memorization, a language is learned through use. And that's where today's 5 habits come in. These habits are simple, but they can completely change the way your brain processes English. Let's start with habit number 1, the 5 daily habits. Habit 1. This sounds almost too simple. Talk to yourself in English. While you're walking, cooking, cleaning, driving, shopping, describe what you're doing. I'm making breakfast. I'm looking for my keys. I'm walking to work. I'm feeling tired today. Simple sentences. No pressure, no audience, no fear.
So you're basically creating English thoughts throughout the day.
Exactly. And every time you do this, you're teaching your brain something powerful. English does not need translation. English can be the thought itself. Habit 2. When you hear the word car, don't think of the word in your native language. Picture a car. When you hear dog, picture a dog. When you hear happy, remember a happy moment. Connect English directly to images and experiences. This is how fluent speakers think. And the more you practice this, the faster your brain becomes.
Habit 3. Most people only use English during study time.
And that's a huge mistake. Change your phone to English. Watch English videos. Listen to English podcasts. Follow English creators. Read simple English content daily. Your brain learns from exposure. The more English surrounds you, the more natural it becomes. Habit 4. This habit is incredibly powerful. Ask yourself questions in English. What should I eat today? What am I doing tomorrow? What was the best part of my day? Then answer them in English. This creates real conversations inside your mind, and that's exactly what fluent thinking looks like. Habit 5. Every night, write 3 simple sentences. What happened today? What did you learn? What will you do tomorrow? Don't worry about perfection. Focus on expression. The goal isn't perfect English. The goal is English thinking. And most learners completely misunderstand this, which brings us to the biggest mistake people make.
If these habits work, why don't most people improve?
Because they quit too early. Imagine planting a seed. The next day, nothing happens. A week later, nothing happens. A month later, still nothing. Does that mean the seed isn't growing? Of course not. Growth is happening underground. The same thing happens with English. Your brain is changing before you can see the results. But most people quit before the breakthrough arrives. They mistake slow progress for no progress, and that's why they stay stuck. Let me ask you something. Do you see yourself as someone learning English or as an English speaker? There's a difference, a huge difference. One identity says, I'm trying. The other says, this is who I'm becoming. Every fluent speaker was once a beginner. The difference is that they continued long enough for their habits to become their identity. An identity changes everything. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. You enter a conversation. Someone asks you a question in English, and for the first time, you don't translate. You don't panic. You don't search for words. You simply respond, naturally, confidently, effortlessly. Think about that moment. How different would your life be? How many opportunities would open up? How much confidence would you gain? That future version of yourself is not created in one day. It's created through small daily habits repeated again and again.
So what's the biggest lesson from all of this?
The biggest lesson is simple. Fluency doesn't begin when you speak English. Fluency begins when you think in English. The moment English becomes your thought instead of your translation, everything changes. Your speaking becomes faster. Your listening becomes easier. Your confidence grows. And suddenly, English stops feeling like a school subject. It becomes part of who you are. So here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, spend just 5 minutes every day thinking only in English. No translation, no dictionary, no perfection. Just English, because the person you want to become is waiting on the other side of that habit. And remember, you become fluent not when you know more English, but when English becomes the language of your mind.